Last time they raced at Donington Park, the Listers started from pole, hoping for a first win of the series here on home ground. Also on that front row, another British team, the Chamberlain Viper of Niamarim. Germany's Sascha Massen joined Franz Conrad in the number 6 Porsche and started from 6th place as the Lister grabbed the lead. Olivier Beretta started moving up almost at once despite the full 100-kilo ballast load that had kept him down the grid, passing Amarim at the S's and grabbing 2nd place. And chasing hard after the number 19 Viper of Christian Glasel, Stefan Wittmann lost the back end and spun into the gravel, but recovered after losing only 2 places. Julian Bailey in the Lister was the race leader, but as the pit stops approached, he had the number 1 Viper of Beretta right behind him all the way round the lap. Tied together with a very short piece of string, they dived into pit lane together and hit the speed limiters at once. And now the race changed dramatically as the Lister tangled with the refuelling rig of the number 29 Porsche. While they struggled, there was no fuss as Olivier Beretta handed the Viper to Carl Wendlinger, and their refuelling went smoothly, while the Lister's problems magnified. Wendlinger left the pits in a very secure-looking lead. As Massen stretched his fuel to the maximum, Coppice again proved a temptation to the Vipers. Tony Seiler also escaping lightly. And fastest car on the track now was Mike Hewland in the Lister, 5th and chasing the leaders. Chasing too hard perhaps as he touched in the S's with the Porsche, spinning it as the Lister got away with it. But up front, there was no fuss, no bother, and no drama for Orica's championship-leading number 1 car, now in sight of its 5th win of the year as the checkered flag was raised and then dropped. Good work from the Orica team, gave them victory and kept Beretta and Wendlinger on top of the points table. Although they can be caught, it's only by another Orica driver, Jean-Philippe Belloc. With the team's title already in the bag, the driver's crown must now go to Orica as well. A good way for them to leave the series, which they will do at the end of this season. Round 8 is on the infield course at the Homestead Oval in Florida. The front straight is shared with the speedway, and a short blast past the massive pit lane complex brings you quickly onto the brakes for turn 1. You go past the pit lane exit and go left here, turning away from the banking and onto the infield. The lake's on the left and the track curves around it, heading towards a difficult hairpin left, followed almost at once by a hairpin right. The exit's the important bit here because it leads out through a left-hand curve onto a long straight run to the tight right, which is turn 6. It's all combination corners here, 2 or perhaps even 3 turns together in places. Slow in and fast out has to be the maxim. The exit's vital for a good run down the next long straight, and you're running parallel with the pit lane every time. On the brakes again, almost at once, another almost hairpin left, followed by a short squirt here, and then another gentle left because you're rejoining the back straight of the Speedway Oval. Off the gas and left onto the infield again. It's a short run before you have to slow and go left at turn 11, and another squirt before the right-left combination of 12 and 13. The last one's a loose hairpin. You go past the pit lane entrance and you're fed out onto the front straight of the speedway and the long run past the pits to finish the lap. The press release said it all. Homestead has escaped Hurricane Floyd. yes and no, really, depending on your point of view. The place was still standing when the GT cars arrived from Rotterdam, but South Florida was underwater and it was still raining. Practice and qualifying were a nightmare, more so for some than others. And the back straight spin, which sent Chamberlain's number 19 car cartwheeling along the wall, destroyed it completely. Though Christian Glasl was unhurt, the car was beyond immediate repair, with no parts available even here in Chrysler's backyard, and the team was reduced to a single car for the race. Not even the locals were used to these conditions, although US sports car champion Larry Schumacher has never raced at Homestead before anyway. Learning the circuit when you can hardly see it is never easy, but they were third quickest of the 911s.
Yeah, I think we're doing fairly well since we've never been on this track and under the conditions that we have. I'm sort of satisfied. Obviously, first would be better.
And the conditions were bad. But Franz Conrad and Mike Hazeman joined forces in the number 6 Porsche and were just ahead of Schumacher on the grid. And if rain wasn't enough, the humidity made it misty as well. But with Bob Wallach sharing the driving, Wolfgang Kaufmann found the weekend going well.
I mean, it's a good decision of Manfred Freisinger and the team to take Bob for that race and also for the other races. And he has a lot of experience and he's still quick and he's doing a good job also in the rain. So I feel very confident, and for sure if it's raining tomorrow, and it looks like at the moment, looks like that we can do a good job there in the race.
Just ahead of Freisinger on the grid was the Belmondo Viper, shared between the team leader Emmanuel Clerica and America's Ron Atapattu. Ahead of them, best of the local crews, the interesting-looking Intruder made it to row 2 in the torrential downpours, which hammered every single one of the practice and qualifying sessions, and may have favoured the car which has claimed lap records every time it's raced.
This morning the qualifying was very hard because when I set up the time it was raining a lot and I had a lot of problems of aquaplaning, but I'm pretty happy with the time we set despite this problem, this weather problem. Unfortunately we were not able to run the first couple of laps. That was less wet, and but we still did the first time, which for us is very good for the first race with the GT championship.
Third on the grid for their number 18 car may have been some consolation for the Chamberlain team.
Well, the track was quite good, but we haven't tried the track in the dry yet. It's been raining for all the testing and all the qualifying, so I think the track is very nice, but well, it's wet.
Back in the number 2 Viper after some good work early in the year was David Donahue, sharing the job with Jean-Philippe Belloc once again. They managed to find themselves second on the grid, though the Viper, with its 70 kilos of success ballast, was obviously rather more of a handful than it used to be, especially on a track awash with rainwater. And they were lucky not to do the same sort of damage that Chamberlain suffered in similar circumstances.
Well, the weather's not very good. It's been raining since we got here. We haven't had a dry session. The cars are running really well. Clerica has done a great job preparing them, and the Vipers always seem to be a really good car in the wet, and the Michelin tires don't hurt. But it's going to be a long race if it's going to be this wet. As a home track, I figured this place owes me something because last year I had a suspension break, and then I had at the other U.S. race I had a car failure as well. So I figured the U.S. races owe me something this year.
In a second qualifying session, slower than anything that had gone before, and finally cut short by a massive thunderstorm that drenched the circuit and took out the timing electrics with a single bolt of lightning. Carl Wendlinger and Olivier Beretta hung on to pole, fastest by almost a second.
This morning was still okay because it was raining, but there was still not so much rain that it started to have aquaplaning or that it started to get difficult. But then in the afternoon the rain was very heavy, but we decided to go out to check the car in the heavy rain. And the car is good, but you know, you can never judge how much the water is you see in front of you and how much the aquaplaning is when you arrive. So this afternoon was quite difficult to drive.
After 2 days of non-stop downpour, Sunday morning at Homestead was almost unbelievable. Dry and clear, although very windy. Though the change in the weather was welcome, since it made racing far less dangerous, especially during the rolling start with all the cars bunched up in a pack, there was inevitably a downside. These cars are lining up on the grid, faced with the prospect of a dry race on a circuit they've never seen without running water on the surface, and with no information of any practical value. How long would the tyres last? What sort of fuel consumption could they expect in these conditions? What would be the target lap time? They knew nothing. Those people who were here last year when the infield circuit was also used have got something to fall back on. But for the rest of the field, with no such luxury, this race of 500 kilometres or 3 hours, whichever comes soonest, will pretty much be a shot in the dark. The competitors in this 8th round of the FIA GT Championship begin the warm-up lap on their way to the rolling start in bright sunshine with air temperature in the 90s and a humidity also chasing treble figures. The complete reversal in weather conditions means that the grid times are irrelevant and positions too might be of very little significance. Although the fact that the front row is once again an all Oreca preserve could have been a safe bet, wet or dry. None of the series regulars quite know what to make of the Intruder on row 2. It's fast and agile and may well have the capability to run at the front in the dry as well as in the wet. And after that, with half the drivers playing musical chairs between teams, the form book might just as well be a fairy tale. Round the infield then for the traditional rolling start. It's a very short run out of the last corner to the start line. Not a lot of time for the grid to get itself settled after that last corner. So bunching up now as they go through the twists and turns on the Homestead infield. We've seen earlier it is very tight there, and the grid is terribly well behaved as well. All together now as they come out onto the straight. The safety car's already gone and the light has gone green because the race is on. Here comes the number 18. We're on board in the number 16 Porsche, the Freisinger car, driven this year by Lance Stewart, who drives for Freisinger from time to time when they come to the States. Vipers up front, the Intruders in there in third place. It's a busy field. There's our camera car with Lance Stewart at the wheel. This is his view, looking at the back end of Larry Schumacher's 911 as they unwind these very short straights and very tight corners. Viper in the lead, that's the number 1 Oreca car. Viper second, that's the number 2 Oreca car. Could you have written a script that said that before you came to this racetrack? Almost certainly you could. Wendlinger leads from David Donahue. Barbosa's third in the Intruder. Emmanuel Clerica's fourth for Belmondo in the number 21 car. Vincent Voss sitting in for Chamberlain in the 18 car is next. Mike Hazeman driving the number 6 Porsche with Franz Conrad. Musical chairs it is. And then it's Wolfgang Kaufmann in his own 15 car. Mark Roston, where he belongs in the seat of the 22 car. Larry Schumacher, number 17, the American champion. Lance Stewart in the 16 Freisinger car. And then Charles Slater in the number 7 Conrad car. Lots going on then. Wendlinger leads it. And he leads the points table as well. 56 points. Wendlinger and Beretta. Belloc is the only person who might beat the leaders. There are 3 races left on the card, a total of 30 points. So Wendlinger and Beretta need 11 points out of 3 races to ensure that they finish the year as champions. Doesn't sound like a terrifically tall order. However, wild cards in the pack. What are we to make of the Intruder? It's not a point-scoring car within the championship framework. It's running to the championship's sporting regulations. Can't score points, can't change the outcome of the series. by whatever happens here today. But it might just give the Orica boys something to think about. Looking fairly anxious behind Donahue now. Remember, 60 kilos on board the number 2 Viper. 1,160 kilos makes it quite a heavy car. We're back on board in that number 16 car. Looking at the tail end of Larry Schumacher as we run down this straight, heading towards the left turn at the bottom, going through on the inside under brakes and taking the place back out onto the very back straight where you join the speedway. Viper, Intruder, Viper. Well, the Porsches have run with the leaders in the early stages in the past, haven't managed to beat them, and that is the number 14 Viper. Now, that's a 96 spec car. That's Brett Parker who brought it in, and you can see the problem for yourself. It's boiling over. It is 90 plus degrees. It is 90+% humidity. It's not a nice day for racing. And it looks as though that one's paid the price. The Intruder still there with the leaders, still keeping Emmanuel Clerica in the 21 car off the back of the 2 leaders. Here is retirement for that number 14 Viper, and Clerica won't be too pleased about that. The Intruder may not be able to score points, but it can certainly get in the way. Here is the number 19 Chamberlain Viper. They had a spare car in America, and they've been allowed to substitute it for the one that was destroyed thanks to the lack of points. It had to start from the back of the grid because it didn't have any grid times as a car in its own right. And you can see it's already on its way up the field, started right at the tail end, on its way to 12th place now. Emmanuel Clerica, quick at Monza. Had a dabble in Formula One. Drives a bit in the same way that the talent scout said that Fred Astaire dances a bit. And must be just a little frustrated about that Intruder, although he's dropping back from that as well. It's not really holding him up. He can't put his hand up and honestly claim that he's being held up by that. But all of these drivers, all of these teams in dry weather with no up-to-date statistics to work from, we're all sitting there now doing the sums and trying to figure out what sort of fuel consumption they should run to, what will the tyres do in these kind of conditions. Lots to think about. There's the sister car to the number 21 Belmondo car, number 22 Mark Roston, on his way past the number 6 Porsche of Mike Hazeman at the moment, the Conrad car, and that seemed to be slowing. Whether it's got a problem or not, it's a bit early. Oh, it has got a problem. Here it is in the pits. Well, what's the problem there? Hard to say. They're looking in the engine. Could be turbo, could just be overheating. Here's Mark Roston again. This is Wolfgang Kaufmann in the number 15 car. So we're talking about 6th and 7th place at the moment. The race leader, remember, is number 1, second place number 2, the 2 Orica Vipers. And then it looked as though we have lost the Intruder from 3rd place, and that Emmanuel Clerica was up there in 3rd. Just a glimpse then of Clerica with what looked like the 39 car behind him. Then it's number 18, the Chamberlain car, and then it's 15 and 22 we're looking at now. So it's actually 6th and 7th we're dealing with here, and this looks like it is going back out to race. So whatever it was, fingers crossed it's been fixed, but they've lost a lot of time in the pits inevitably. And that is definitely in front of the Intruder. That's Emmanuel Clerica. There is Barbosa in the Intruder. So whether Clerica just nipped past or whether the Intruder also has got an early problem, hard to say. Watch this one develop while Clerica tries to get after the 2 Vipers in front of him. He'll be looking for a rear end view of that. Oh, and that on the infield is Patrick Villaume in the number 8 car. Rejoins it, spun it off and gets going. Looks like he'll be okay. Might want to go into the pits. But here is Mike Hazeman back in again. So whatever his problem is, it's not going away. And these are the worst things to have in a race. Something that no one can put their finger on. You can't mend it, you can't do anything about it. You don't know whether to retire or wait for the engine to go bang, or just plug on and hope that it'll sort itself out. Wendlinger leads it, going past Andrea Garbagnati in the number 9 car. And that's Larry Schumacher behind, being lapped also by the number 2 Viper, and look at Clerica right up behind them now. So this little queue of traffic on the infield has actually held up the leaders. It is very tight, not easy to get past, and you can see that Clerico's hit the traffic right and the Vipers at the front have hit it wrong, and the gap has closed up, and Clerico puts his lights on because he wants Andrea Garbagnati to stay off the line, let him go through. Job done. Garbagnati driving well, looking in his mirrors, saw that one coming, left the door wide open. Clerico's through. He's in 3rd place. He's chasing 2nd. It's good work by the Porsche driver. I have to say that it looks as though Emmanuel Clerico here in the number 21 car is gradually reeling in David Donahue in that number 2 Orica car ahead of him. Donahue, remember, with 60 plus kilos of extra weight, and Clerico with nothing. So he can be bang on the 1100 kilo limit if he wants to be. Interesting though, Orica prepare and market these cars in Europe for the Chrysler factory, so every one of them that you see has been through the Orica workshop. They are therefore very similar, although not necessarily identical. If there are any Wizzo bits, then they're on the number 2 car, not on the number 21 car. So the interesting thing now is whether or not Clerico can actually get past Donahue. They may well, of course, be running to entirely different strategies in terms of fuel, in terms of tyres, and in terms of pit stops. There is no way of knowing, and they've all pretty much stuck their fingers in the air and waiting to see which way the wind was blowing this morning because this lack of data. So whoever has made the call on the speed, they could be right or wrong. So it's going to be interesting to watch this one unfold. But it does look as though Clerico has caught up and really hasn't quite got the edge. He's certainly hassling Donahue and jumping up and down a bit behind him, but Donahue will be immune to that, or pretty much immune to that. He's got his schedule to run to. He seems to be able to hold off Clerico as and when he wishes. He's not going to take terribly much notice of blue flags. This is a race, and he's not obliged to move over and give up his 2nd place, so he won't do that. Clerico right on the tail there, still looking, and not short of speed, it appears, on these little short straights, these tiny squirts between the corners. Clerico, in fact, looks better on the brakes. I would suggest the ballast is just making Donahue's life a bit of a misery at the moment, and that Clerico can reel him in every time they go for the brakes. He'll stop a little bit better so he can leave his braking just that little bit later and be pressing up against the tail end of the car in front of him. That's really what he wants, is to get on the power midway through the corner and come out with those back wheels almost but not quite spinning and just fly past. But has he got that kind of performance edge? Unlikely. Might accelerate a little bit snappier because of the weight difference again, but not a lot. And if number 2 has got those extra bits or anything special at all, any inside knowledge, then he's going to find it very difficult indeed. He certainly thinks the job is open to offer because he is not giving up. He's not just tooling around in the slipstream. He is definitely busy, definitely looking. He wants that 2nd place and he thinks it's doable. David Donahue by now will also be wondering whether it is doable. He is under pressure. He's not been immune to it earlier, but very soon there is going to be a very sharp tap on the back door. Clerico is that close, and he is sizing it up. Look, he's looking everywhere to do it as they go for the turns, showing Donahue that huge expanse of yellow in the mirror. Running almost alongside him, just letting him have a look at the nose of the Belmondo car. Perhaps here, long straight along the back of the speedway. It's not going to happen there, though. Turning into the infield. It's all short, sharp and very busy round here. Now hard on the gas for another run down the straight. Can he do it here? Going for the brakes as they go past the end of the pits, and again the answer appears to be no. Donahue won't be wanting to show Emmanuel Clerica where he's weakest. Clerica will be studying the car in front, looking for that opening, looking for that place where he can just tiptoe by. He's been there for a couple of laps. He's had the opportunity to think about, oh, and here it is. Nice work if you can get it. And Clerica, can he make it stick? Donahue comes straight back at him, but no, he's made it work. Good one from Emmanuel Clerica. Thought about that one, had it all worked out and did it. So now Carl Wendlinger leads it, and Emmanuel Clerica is second ahead of David Donahue. Carl Wendlinger leads this race from Emmanuel Clerica, from David Donahue, and in fourth place the Intruder of Joao Barbosa is being caught now by the number 18 Viper, the Chamberlain car, driven this weekend by Vincent Voss, the GLPK regular, who swapped teams for the weekend. GLPK haven't made the journey to America. One of the team principals delayed by business in his home country, and moving up a place to grab that fourth spot. And the Intruder coming back. Barbosa has had enough of that. No, thank you. Just look at that. Nice and easy does it. It is definitely a touch more nimble around the infield than the big Viper. And now Voss has got it all to do again if he can, and he gets on the power hard, tucked up underneath that rear wing, and where will he try again? Not here. Barbosa turns left onto the infield again. This is where it gets tight and twisty. This is Intruder territory, but the Viper is right there, and through on the inside he goes. Well, Vincent Voss just nips past Barbosa to grab back the place, so that's fourth and fifth changing hands again. Barbosa still there, and he got him back so easily on this section of the circuit. Let's see if he can do it again. There may be a bigger gap this time around than there was before. Indeed there is, and it looks as though Voss has made that one stick. Look at the space behind him. It's possible that the Intruder has a problem of some sort, because it seems to be good in some places, poor in others, and it seems to be poor at getting out of the corners. And it may well have a traction problem. Goodness only knows what the problem is here. It could be overheating. They've been in several times already, and they've still got a problem. Whatever it is that's wrong with this number 6 Conrad Porsche, arguably the best prepared and quickest of the 911s in the series, whatever it is that Mike Hazelmans is experiencing, it is going to be a nightmare to find it and get it fixed during this race.
Yeah, well, it's a shame. The car was running very well this morning in warm-up. The setup was good, the car was quick. There's something with the spark plugs. I have no idea what it is exactly. So we now try each spark plug system, and the one looks like it's running better. So I hope we fix it, and then he can go again.
Race leader in the distance behind the BMW, an unusual sight in the FIA GT Championship, but the American participant here by invitation. BMW represented in 2 cars, that being one of them. This is the number 19 Viper in the pits. Christian Van for a scheduled stop. And here is the Intruder in the pits as well, so we're right about that. There is a problem with that car. No problem for Wendlinger, the race leader, on his way. And he's missed his box. Barbosa has stopped by the Belmondo pits, also clad in bright yellow, but the wrong bright yellow. Now being pushed up pit lane because of a clutch problem. That's why he's in early. So they're in trouble, and the local challenge may have evaporated this early in the race. Clutches are adjustable though, going for the refuel, and with a bit of luck he'll be back out to get up among the leaders and see if we can liven up these Orica boys just a little bit. and having trouble getting it started. It's not going very... Oh dear, it's on fire! There's fire in the pit lane! Big fire in the pit lane. They're there with the fire extinguishers. Driver out at once, and the fire extinguishers are on the case. Quick work by the crew and the marshals here, the fire marshals as well. This fire looks as though it is over and done with. They were on it straight away, but almost certainly that will be retirement. That's more than just a little bit of scorched paintwork. And checking it over, still going inside. You can see it, just a lick of flame there out of the fuel filler, and the powder goes in. That should put a stop to that. Here is Wendlinger, the race leader. A cloud of smoke dispersing very quickly indeed, thankfully. So Wendlinger on his way still as the Intruder goes back in the box, and that is a shame. And that's a problem for Wendlinger. Why is he going so slowly? He's just been blown away by Emmanuel Clerica, and there's obviously a problem for this car. The crew are out in the pit lane. They know it's a puncture, and there it is on the right rear side. And that happened almost as he went past the pit lane. It could not have happened at a worse moment in the lap for Carl Wendlinger, who must now try and struggle back to the pits on three wheels, being passed not only by Clerica but by his teammate as well. And that tyre is destroying itself. He's virtually on the rim now. Well, he is on the rim on the outside. There's a little bit of rubber left on the inside, but you can see now he's only just made it out onto the back straight. He's got the whole half of the infield section to do as well. He's got the best part of a mile still to go before he's home. It's a 2.2 mile circuit, remember, and that happened almost at the beginning of it as the rest of the field goes streaming past. This could be a big problem for Wendlinger and for Beretta. Remember, they came here racing for the championship, and if they don't win this one, and in fact if they don't rejoin this one, that gives Jean-Philippe Bellot an open opportunity to pitch for the 1999 crown. Brings it in, but you're looking at the new race leader. This is Emmanuel Clerica in the Belmondo Viper, who is the new race leader. Well, he's driven for it, and he deserves all the glory he gets for it. But what bitter luck for Wendlinger and Beretta as Clerica closes up on Wolfgang Kaufmann in the number 15 Porsche. He's going to pick up at least a lap on this car. They've got that carcass off, but there'll be all bits of wire and rubber. And there it is. You can see the tyre has come apart. The lamination doesn't begin to cover it. It's ripped up parts of the brake cooling system as well. Goodness knows what other damage it might have done in that wheel arch. They may yet have trouble rejoining. If they're lucky, they'll just have to disentangle that drive shaft and get the car back up. There are the wire cutters going into play. Here's the race leader past the pit, so Emmanuel Clerica has got a lap in hand at least, and he's going to have the best part of the next one as well. So happy days for him. These Orica boys still struggling. It's on now though. This is disaster for Wendlinger and Beretta, and means that at the very best this title battle will go to the next race at Watkins Glen, just upstate in New York. Creeping down the pit lane. It's a long, long pit lane, and it will seem like eternity on the limiter. Olivier Beretta has taken over, of course. They took the opportunity to do all the normal pit stop things, but they were there for the best part of 2 laps. Look, here comes Emmanuel Clerica round the infield section, tucked up behind that number 15 Porsche still. He's on the front straight and he's at racing speed. Beretta is still on the limiter, coming up to the pit lane exit. The flag is green, off the limiter, nailed the throttle, but he has lost all of 2 laps. There goes the race leader, and that's 2 laps down for Olivier Beretta in the number 1 Viper, and that looks like disaster for them. Well, a very comfortable looking lead indeed for Emmanuel Clerica as he starts to think ahead. This race is 500 kilometres or 3 hours, whichever comes first. But at the end of the first hour, roughly speaking, it'll be scheduled pit stop time. for Emmanuel Clerica, and it's unscheduled pit stops time for these boys. So this is number 7, so this is scheduled. So Colombo about to take over the number 7 Conrad Porsche, which has been circulating without any problems at all. Charles Slater done a fine job in his opening hour. Scheduled stop for them. Here's the number 2 Clerica car. Now they are starting to think championship, or Belloc should be starting to think championship. He'll know exactly what's been happening. He'll have been listening to the radio, and he'll know that Beretta is working hard just to unlap himself as they get stuck behind the number 6 Conrad car, which is going slowly yet again. The race leader is pursued by the championship leader, who needs an extra 2 laps, please, to get back on terms. And they almost touched then. That was very, very close indeed. Beretta goes through. Clerica lets him. He can afford to just sit behind him and follow him round. He can run to his schedule now. He's got 2 laps in hand. Looking at the number 18 Viper coming into the pit lane. Oh, and he's got Larry Schumacher in the 17 Porsche right behind him. So the regular pit stops are happening now. Clerica staying out there. Number 2 car in second place into the pit lane. So it's all going to get a little bit confusing until everyone has got track position. Is going to change until all the pits. And that's the problem on that right front. The wheel gun socket won't come off. They can't send the car out like that, so problems for the Chamberlain boys. They've done the change, but they are in trouble in the pits. Clerica is in no trouble at all. Back out comes the 18 car. That problem sorted, obviously. And pit lane very busy indeed, and that is the number 2 car going out of the pits. Jean-Philippe Belloc on his way out after David Donahue has handed it over. He'll have lost a bit of time. Clerica is still out there. The number 1 car with Beretta at the wheel, trying to unlap itself twice. That's a fairly tall order even for Orica. And Belmondo, well, they're keeping Clerica out for as long as they can. The car's light and it's running well. As long as they judge it, they're ready for him now. So Emmanuel Clerica comes in. Paul Belmondo ready to take over. This is Belloc now chasing the championship in the number 2 car. Clerica suffering from that 90-degree heat and humidity. Last time we saw him like that, because he pushed the Viper up the Monza pit lane. He's done nothing of the sort this time, but it's hard work in these temperatures. Trouble starting it. Switch the ignition on before you press the button. That'll do the trick. And Paul Belmondo leaves the pits, and he should emerge still the race leader. But we'll have to wait for everybody to settle down. All the top men have made their stops now, and the race order will become clear as soon as Belmondo comes out of the pits, and that number 21 car gets its 2nd lap out. Won't show up on the first one, 2nd lap out, and we'll know exactly how we stand after the pit stops. Hot stuff at Homestead in Florida. You're looking at the number 1 Viper, which is struggling to grab back 2 laps lost after a puncture sent it to the pits after a very slow lap indeed. And this is the number 19, Christian Vent. They've just made their pit stop not very long ago, but obviously there's a problem for the number 18 car. It had a right front wheel problem. They couldn't get the socket off, but I don't think it's that, but it's being lapped by other cars now, and the crew obviously know that there is a problem and that he is coming in. Jean-Philippe Belloc in the number 2 Viper heading straight towards us now. He's chasing after his 1999 Drivers' Championship, and to get it, he's got to catch and pass Paul Belmondo in the number 21 car, which is ahead of him on the racetrack. Not quite sure what the problem is for number 18. It seemed to be in difficulty. It seems now to be following Belloc quite comfortably at pretty much the same sort of speed. Oh, and a spin there for number 19. And the Orica car just skates past. He's right across the track. He's in an awful position, waiting to see if he's got the engine running or if he could restart. In comes 19 after the spin for the stop. Fuel and driver and stuck in the gravel. That is the number 9 Porsche. That's Mauro Casadei. And that's brought out the safety car. It's ahead of the race. Let's close it up. Belloc was chasing Paul Belmondo, and he's now right on his tail. They've pulled that car out of the gravel, and you can see that it's done a considerable amount of damage to the front end and underfloor, and almost certainly that's retirement for number 9, just scraping back to the pits there. But they've still got to sweep the gravel up on that corner. There's a fair amount of it, so slow laps behind the safety car, and it's closed the race right up again. Belmondo won't be too keen on that. They had a nice lead, thank you. They don't have a nice lead anymore. And they're still working on that corner. And that is the number 1 Viper. That was Olivier Beretta going into pit lane. So the obvious feeling at Orica is that there's going to be at least one more lap under the safety car, and they can do their pit stop, driver change and refuel and change the tyres in that one lap and get back out onto the circuit without losing a lap to the safety car. It's gone round with its lights on, and it must do a lap with its lights off, so it's a good call by Orica. As long as they get the pit lane exit right, no problem at all. They will get the 2 laps they need to do the stop. The lights have gone off. The lights have gone off, and this is going to be critical for Carl Wendlinger, because the safety car is out there, the lights are off, and it dives into the pit lane now. And when Wendlinger arrives at the pit lane exit, he's going to find that the light is red, because the race is on in full cry coming past the pits. The entire pack now. Carl Wendlinger is not going to be allowed out until they've all gone through. And in your dreams, chaps, you're not going to send that one back out. Too much of it missing at the front end. So Belmondo is the race leader, and right behind him now he has Jean-Philippe Belloc, who was quite a long way behind him until the safety car came out, but now they are close together. Belloc wants to win this. He needs the 10 points. He needs the number 1 car to finish in 3rd, 4th or 5th, wherever it's going to be after it's lost 2 laps. That will do him very nicely. Orica don't mind. They're going to get... Oh dear, one of the BMWs has spun right in the middle of the track and stopped there. Number 40. And out comes the safety car again, very briefly though, just a single lap while we get that one sorted. Lights out already, so it's closed up again. Paul Belmondo must be cursing his luck, and Jean-Philippe Belloc is probably saying, thank you, there is a God after all, because he is back within sight of his championship for the 2nd time in almost as many laps virtually. There's the number 1 car, champions elect but yet not confirmed, and they have got a lot of work to do if they want to catch this man, Belloc, who has got a fair amount of work to do just to get past the number 21 Viper. Now remember earlier on when the positions were reversed and it was Clerica chasing Donahue, it was Clerica who got past, but there goes, and through goes Belloc, chasing the title. Belmondo is absolutely glued to the tail end, chasing a race victory. That would do Belmondo very nicely indeed. Behind that you can see the number 1 car busy unlapping itself, or trying to anyway. So new race leader, our 3rd of the day. This is Jean-Philippe Belloc in the number 2 car. And this is the number 7 Conrad Porsche being picked off by all and sundry, so it seems like it's not a good afternoon for Conrad. They all go steaming past, and that looks as though it could be on its way to an early retirement. And the Freisinger car, Bob Wollek sharing with Wolfgang Kaufmann this weekend, and the car not looking its usual self, very very much on the pace in the normal run of things, but not quite as quick around here as perhaps we would have hoped and they might have expected, or we might have expected and they would have hoped. Out of the pits goes the number 2 car. This is going to be a critical stop for number 21. Now, it was Ron Atapattu scheduled to get in here, but you can bet your bottom dollar they're going to put Clerica back in the seat, and they have. Emmanuel Clerica goes out for the third hour. He was the quickest thing in the first hour. He's got to find and catch the number 2 car, which has already stopped and already got out on track ahead of him. At the moment, the number 1 car is the race leader, but has yet to stop. 21 is probably going to be second when they come round after this set of outlap, and number 2 probably going to be third. You're looking at 4th place coming out of the pits when they settle down, probably. Wolfgang Kaufmann driving the Freisinger car for the final hour. Clerica driving the Belmondo car. Donahue back in the number 2 Viper, and as out comes the number 1 car with Beretta at the wheel. All the leading contenders are back in place where they should be. Clerica is the fastest, and that's going to end in tears. Does it again. The number 40 car. Well, we had a little safety car moment with the BMW earlier on, and are we going to get another one? That's running this time, I think. Yes, it is. Just waiting for the traffic, so no safety car on this one. Well, that'll be a piece of good news for the race leader, because somewhere out there, Emmanuel Clerica is the man at the front of the field. He's fought for the lead twice, doesn't want it given away in another safety car moment as before. There he is. And the Belmondo team must have bitten their fingernails right up to the elbows, because they are within sight of a victory that will be remembered for quite a long time. The Orica Vipers haven't been beaten since Hungary last year, but that's stopping. The number 2 car is stopping. Donahue is definitely slowing. The car has come to a halt. The championship is decided at this moment. Carl Wendlinger and Olivier Beretta have won the 1999 FIA GT Championship as David Donahue pulls off the only car that could have caught and beaten them in the remaining 3 races. The championships are both decided here and now. And Emmanuel Clerica must have decided that this is going to be his checkered flag. He must have that thought in his mind. Lap 122, the final lap, when the number 2 car ran out on petrol, and Clerica takes the Belmondo car over the line. A victory for the Belmondo team. And Emmanuel Clerica's got enough strength left to punch that steering wheel. There is one happy Frenchman at the wheel. Faultless work from the team gave Emmanuel Clerica the chance to shine on track, and the Frenchman drove an exhausting race like a dream to give Paul Belmondo that historic first win of the year ahead of the Orica crews. Another podium finish for the Chamberlain team, which might make up for what must have been a very expensive weekend at the races for them. But the big news is that second place, while Belloc was 4th, makes Wendlinger and Beretta champions again. So Orica have added the driver's crown to the team's title they already had from this year, and the points gap between the top 2 drivers and Jean-Philippe Belloc now 24, with 2 races and only 20 points left on the table.
I'm very happy that we beat them. And I think we did a very great job with all the team, no mistakes at all. It was a very hard race because neither Paul and me knew the track before. So we ran all week with a wet track. And then this morning on warm-up we had only 2 laps to learn the track.
Next time out they race in the States again at Watkins Glen.